Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be reviewing the G80SD by Samsung. This is the 4K 32-inch 240Hz OLED monitor. Alright, so if you guys don't know about OLED is probably one of the best monitor technologies out there right now. It can produce true blacks and really vibrant colors. So the setup of this monitor is really easy. To set this up, you just have to connect the base of the monitor, and all you have to do is twist, and then you just snap the back of this monitor to the base. The monitor is super beautiful with silver bezels, and someone asked me if the silver bezels is distracting, and honestly no, because this bezels is so thin that you wouldn't even notice that the bezels are there. The back of this monitor has RGB, and one cool feature of the RGB is it can match what's displaying your monitor. So if you have a game that's really vibrant, the colors on your wall will be lit up. It's pretty immersive. So really cool to see that they finally did something with the RGB in the back of this monitor. So for ports, you have your traditional DisplayPort 1.4, and you also have two HDMI ports in the back. One of them is HDMI 2.1 for console players, and one of the other ports has ARC, which is really cool because now you could definitely connect a soundbar to this monitor. Unfortunately, it is not eARC, so Dolby Atmos soundbars won't work on this. It will work, it's just you won't have the ability to use Dolby Atmos, which is a miss because Samsung itself, they have Dolby Atmos soundbars like the Samsung S60B, or if you wanted an even better one, the Sonos Beam Gen 2. So for the specs of this monitor, like I said, this is a 4K 240Hz 32-inch OLED monitor, which is perfect for gaming and for productivity. The text of this monitor is super clear, so if you're constantly reading websites, working on Excel, working on Word, doing PowerPoints, this is very clear. For my use case scenario, I trade daily, so for this monitor being 4K and 32 inches, the extra screen real estate has been very appreciated. This monitor also covers 99% DCI, so if you're a gamer and content creator, this is good because you have a one monitor that can do it all. So let's talk about coding. So last year, Samsung released the G8 model, which is a 34-inch ultrawide monitor, and it had semi-gloss coating. This year, Samsung took a step back. They have an anti-gloss coating, which is okay. I would say the anti-gloss coating is way better than previous generation LG monitors matte coating, but this anti-glare coating could also be a good thing. Like for my use case scenario, I work downstairs in a really lit room and theirs is usually really bright. When I'm using semi-gloss coating monitors, there's a lot of reflections and it gets really distracting, but with this new anti-glare with Samsung, I can't see any glare, and that was also the main reason I kept my LG as my main monitor because there was so much glare in the background. But with the Samsung, this coating is so much better than LG's because the pictures, the colors are still so much more vibrant than previous generations. But when it comes to nighttime gaming anyways, this is where this monitor does shine, because when it's nighttime, or you won't even notice anti-glare coating. Everything just becomes really colorful, really vibrant, and it's such a nice experience to use. If you're in the fence of getting this monitor just for their coating, you just make sure you have the proper use case scenario for it. Like I said, the coating doesn't bother me. This is probably one of the best anti-glare coating I've seen in the market at the moment. One thing I wished is if Samsung made two variants of this monitor, like if for some people that want the semi-gloss coating and for some people that just want the matte coating. So Samsung, if you're listening, please make two variants of this monitor. So this monitor is different than the other 32-inch 4K OLED monitors out there in the market right now, because this monitor comes in with a lot of different features. Just like the previous G8 OLED monitor, this monitor is also like a TV, and it even comes with a remote, which I can't live without because my previous monitor had a remote, and being able to switch inputs with the remote makes life so much easier, especially if you constantly have to switch inputs for work in gaming. So when first setting up this monitor, it asks you if you want to register this monitor, which you could totally skip. It asks you for your zip code for live TV, and it also asks you to set up Bixby or Alexa. Once you get to the main screen, it shows you that you have live TV, and which is nice because, as you know, cable these days are very expensive. This monitor also comes with a processor called G8. What it does is, if you're watching lower non-high definition content, it does upscale the content for you, which is a really cool feature to have. So this monitor also comes with all kinds of apps: Hulu, Netflix, Disney+, YouTube, Pluto, which is nice. If you just want to relax, start streaming, you can use this monitor for streaming content. So this monitor also comes with Game Hub. So with Game Hub, you have access to GeForce Now, Amazon Luna, Xbox Game Pass, to name a few. This is actually really cool if you don't have a console and you just want to stream your games in the cloud. Just make sure you have a fast enough internet connection. Personally, I don't use any of these services. However, it is nice to know that you could definitely access these services if you ever needed to. This monitor can also do a split screen view where you can do your DisplayPort and your HDMI. However, if you use this multi-view, it's not like directly split down the middle. It just makes two tiny screen views, which is a miss because it would have been nice to have a straight split down the middle. But regardless, it is nice to have, but I just wish that it would split it down the middle, or at least give us the option to have a better view. What you guys are here for is gaming performance. So again, this is a 32-inch 4K OLED monitor with a 0.3 gray to gray response time. This is an extremely fast monitor, and you won't get any motion blur or ghosting when playing games. So since this is a 32-inch monitor, the best games to play in this monitor are the immersive action games or story-based games. If you're playing competitive FPS games, you are in a disadvantage because of the larger screen real estate. You're gonna have to move your eye just to look at the minimap, which could be really distracting, and you just lose focus. So again, if you are using this monitor for competitive FPS games, there are better monitors out there. So this is gonna be more focused on the more immersive story and action games. Like I said in the beginning, this monitor is super colorful, super vibrant, and the increase from 27 inches to 32 inches on these games becomes so much more immersive. Like on my 27-inch monitor, I never really wanted to play story games like Elden Ring and such because I would rather go to a TV like a PlayStation 5 to play these because it's so much more immersive. But nowadays with this 32-inch, playing story games here is a really, really fun experience. I'm gonna show you guys some gameplay where I'm just gonna film the screen so you guys can see what it looks like when playing at night or when the sun is down, so you can totally see how vibrant this monitor is. So here's a clip of Ghost of Tsushima. This is so colorful, it's amazing to look at. And one thing to note, that since this is a 4K monitor, it's going to be really hard to drive this monitor. So this monitor would only be worth if you actually have the graphics cards to play these games, or it would not be a good experience having really low FPS. My current graphics card right now is a 3080 Ti, so it's still previous generation, but I didn't feel the need to upgrade to the current generation yet. I'll be waiting for the NVIDIA 50 series, but as you see here with the 30 series, I got 60 to 70 FPS, so anything lower than the 3080 probably wouldn't be a good fit for this monitor. But one cool thing is this monitor is G-Sync compatible and FreeSync compatible. As long as you're getting 60 FPS, everything's great, everything's smooth, and you'll see no screen tearing and you'll have really smooth gameplay. So Ghost of Tsushima was one of the games that was kind of hard to run, but when playing other games, I still got 70 to 90 FPS in 4K, and 70 to 90 FPS is really a good FPS if you're playing casual story games where it's not super competitive. Like shooting games like Call of Duty is probably still okay at 70 to 90 FPS, but if like games like those, I would still prefer higher frame rates. But then again, with AAA games, pushing 240 FPS on AAA games is very hard, even for the current 4090 series. So hopefully the next iteration of graphics card would be better. But I think that's coming out next year, so now we just have to wait. If I ever play games where I just need more frame rates, what I do is I just run DLSS with NVIDIA, and that gives you a little bit boost in frame rates. And honestly, running DLSS isn't too bad as long as you use the balanced quality. It's even if you're running this in a lower resolution and it just upscale your gameplay, it's still a really fun experience. When playing competitive games like Valorant, CSGO, CS2, Overwatch, these games are really easy to drive, so even if you had this monitor at 4K 240, you're still gonna get FPS above 240. So if you're competitive and you just want an all-in-one monitor for your competitive and story games, this is still a really great option. Just know that with the increase in size, it might take you a while to adjust. But for me, I actually don't mind the screen increase. The only thing that bothered me is the UI in Valorant because everything shrinks. Like your crosshair shrinks, but you just have to make it a little bit bigger, but then the character models are still the same size. You'll just have to get adjusted, but once you get adjusted, it's still a really good experience. Just be mindful that since it is a bigger monitor, you'll just have to push your monitor back. If you don't have the desk space for this and it's gonna be really close to your face, it's not a good experience. So just make sure if you buy this monitor and you're playing competitive games, just push the monitor back and it'd be much better. As far as my settings on this monitor, I always run this in HDR. If you have Windows 11, you can turn on Auto HDR. And then after you turn on HDR, there is a HDR calibration tool. I highly suggest you do that because it makes you adjust the brightness and the darkness level of this monitor, which makes it have a much better picture experience. There's a couple things that I changed with this monitor. To get to the menu, all you have to do is press the play button for a couple seconds and then the monitor comes up, and there's a couple of things that I changed. For settings, I decided to turn off eye saver because it gets really dark if that's on. And then I put this to warm 1. And then for your RGB settings, I have it at 6, -2, 3 for gain. And then for offset, I have 0, 2, and -1. And I just found that those were probably the best color settings for me, but it varies for a lot of people. But from what I see, this is probably the best picture profile settings out there. So for conclusion, I really do like this monitor, and I believe this is going to be my new main because it works well for my use case scenario. There is a couple downsides to this monitor. First is I want to address the burn-in for this monitor. There's mixed reviews online saying like it's not covered, but some people say this is covered. So if you guys know the answer to this, please let me know. But as far as I know, I don't think it's covered because I've seen the chat logs of people and they do say like burn-in is just something that happens over time. And the warranty they cover is like defects on the monitor. So if that is really important to you, the Asus PG32 UCDM, the gloss version, is really good. And obviously the Dell monitor, however, those Dell monitor is curved, but Dell has a really good warranty and they do honor their burn-in warranty. So if that is important for you, go with the Dell. But I've used an OLED monitor for a while. Like I said, I've used my LG monitor that has over 2,000 hours and I still don't have burn-in on that. And so I know that technologies has advanced, especially with this monitor. So this monitor even has better cooling per Samsung. And so I wouldn't really worry about burn-in unless you really leave your monitor on with a bunch of static images. But if you're just using this monitor normally, I wouldn't worry too much about burn-in. So let's talk about who this monitor is for. This monitor is for someone that just needs a monitor that can do it all. If you are in a bright room during the day and then you game at night, this monitor is perfect for you. And if you are a content creator, this monitor is also good. If you are someone that doesn't have enough space for a TV, this monitor packs a ton of features. One of my friends doesn't have a TV in his room, so he picked up this monitor. So even if he doesn't have a TV, he could be gaming, and then when it's time to sleep, he can just go in his bed, and he still has a remote to control the monitor. So that is really cool. I forgot to mention that this monitor also comes with speakers. So if you don't have a soundbar or speakers connected, really cool to have. I actually use the speakers for work. Instead of my laptop playing sound, I just use the speakers, and it works really well for me. For pricing, when I first got this monitor, it was $12.99, but they were also giving away a $300 gift card at the time. So that was cool because I saw it as like a $300 discount because I was still gonna purchase items. But after like the Prime Day deals and stuff, this monitor is constantly at $11.99 or $9.99. So for $9.99, this monitor actually is a good deal because that puts it in price of like the Gigabyte and the Dell monitor, and that just makes the Asus monitor like so much more expensive. And the Asus monitor is so hard to find. But if you had to purchase this monitor at full price at $12.99, I would say skip, just wait for it to go on sale. So what do you think about this monitor? Are you going to be picking up this monitor? So personally for me, I do like this monitor, and it will be my new main just because of the features. And the features, it was just kind of silly because one thing I really loved is the remote, since I'm constantly switching inputs throughout the day. So again, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, help me reach 1,000 subs, and let me know if you want me to review any other monitors next. So as for now, that's it for me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.